Okay, now we're going to do per character 3D. So let's start a new comp, and we're going to call this comp last name, first initial, per character 3D. Same settings as before, 1280, 720, 29.97, duration 5 seconds. Okay, now let's go back to the regular one view. And I'm going to reset my workspace. And I want to add a new layer, text. And I will type my name. I want the text to be about 100 pixels, and it can be bold and Helvetica, sounds good. And it's fine in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to Command S, and we're going to add a new layer solid. And I'm going to pick a nice, strong middle blue. And I'm going to drag that below my name. And now I'm going to add lights. So, new, light, and I want to get a spotlight. We want it to be fairly bright, so 70 would be good. And shadow darkness, let's give it about 50% shadow darkness. We want to make sure it casts shadows. And say OK. Now, it will have no effect until we actually turn on the 3D for the layers, and we'll do that in a minute. And now we want to add another layer that is a light, and this light is going to be a parallel light. Parallel lights will also cast shadows, and let's make it a slightly lighter shadow than the other. And I'll leave the intensity at 70. It's a different type of shadow, so you'll be able to tell the difference. And it's another way to fill in the space. I'm going to enable 3D for the blue solid, but for the text, I'm going to add enable per character 3D through the animate. And that will allow me to move each of these separate letters separately. So now I'm going to animate position. So add a position animator for your text. Open up your range selector, and we're going to keyframe the start. And then we're going to change the setting for Z. And for Z, I want to put a negative high value number. So negative 1000. Okay. And now I'm going to go to a much further place here, about 4 seconds again, and we'll keyframe that, and we'll drag the start to 100%. Now let's save that before we do anything else. And let's do a RAM preview. Okay, I can see a couple things that I want to change now. I want to make sure, first I'm going to click here in the gray, and then I'm going to press U to close everything. And I'm going to, very quickly, without any of the layers selected, and press AA. And that will show me all of the 3D options for everything. So there's all my light options. And I'm casting my shadows, but there's no shadows showing, so it must be that I don't have accept shadows let's see, or let's see, cast shadows on for the layers. And there's my cast shadows. I want to have that on. And, oh, that doesn't need to cast shadows, but it does need to accept shadows. And it does have accept shadows on. And then make sure that cast shadows is on. You want to have a shadow when it's on the same Z space as the background. And I'll show you that. And it is on the same Z space as the background. And that's okay. I want it to do that. But I do want the position of the text while it is moving. I'm going back to my text animator. I want the position of the text while it is moving to be behind at first. So there's my transform. I don't need that. I need my animator line. And I need my position to be a larger negative number. So let's say negative 1600, and that will put it behind the viewer entirely. And now I'm going to turn this half resolution for the preview, and I'm going to fit, and I'll leave it. No, I'll go one view. One view. And even a little bit further, let's move it up. And let's start it playing. So you can see that the parallel light casts shadows even when you have the spotlight in front of where the text is. But once the text comes into the same space, the spotlight will cast the shadow. So you've got two shadows happening at the same time. Okay,